last week we opened the show by talking about something that we did early in the day, which is that we had some business to take care of. We went to this location, we talked to this person, and to catch everybody up, this person that was helping us was saying, I really wish I could get into content creation. And you gave them 3 tips. Do you remember what the 3 tips were?
Oh boy.
Pop quiz.
Yeah. So I'd say be consistent, to find whatever that consistent, rhythm is for yourself. I don't know if this was the order. I also told them you need to still pick a theme for the direction of your content.
Yeah, that was number 3.
That was number 3. And honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I'm guessing the other one would have been pick the platform that speaks to you, that you're already on, regardless of what other people say. I'm on YouTube, of course, wrote this book. I'm biased because I've been on the platform for 20 years. And of course, I'm advocate for long form. But when you're just first starting out, if you got a day job, I said, hey, you just got to figure out what's going to work to let you be consistent in the first place.
It's almost like you've done this once or twice for some people, because it's exactly right. And so today we actually had a little bit more to take care of. And lo and behold, we ran into this same person again. And so you want to tell us what happened today?
Yeah. So we didn't think we were going to have to go back and take care of this business, but we did. And we had the same person helping us. And as we're just taking care of one of these issues in the middle, this person said, you know what? After meeting you, Benji, I got really motivated and I've been consistently uploading. I was like, good for you. Love it. And I don't know. Was it literally a week ago?
It was exactly a week ago.
Exactly a week ago. So of course that warms my heart, because that's really my goal, is to not only help creators, but if I can help someone become a creator, because I know that it's harder than ever. I would say it's more competitive and it's so noisy. So if I can help somebody to believe enough that it's worth it to actually take action, that's awesome. So they seem really pumped about it. Versus before, they were more curious, and now they're really pumped because they had this kind of high of, hey, I'm on a roll, I'm doing it consistently, and I'm going to continue doing this. And one reason we're keeping this person private, we just don't want to, put them out there like they're trying to be a creator while they also work this day job.
Yeah, and one of the things that stood out to me was that idea of being consistent at your own pace. And this is what this person told us, which is that, they said, oh, well, I'm kind of into my second week now, right? And we're like, oh, like every day? And they were like, no, like I did it once last week, and I'm going to do it once this week. And you were like, that's great, right? It's good to be consistent and consistent at your own pace. And
better than zero.
It's better than zero, but you even said it's better than doing, like, let's say that they posted twice a month for the entire year, right? And at the end of the year, they would have 24 videos. Well, you compare that to somebody going for 1 month, posting 24 times that month. Tell me about the difference between those two things.
Yeah. The difference is the time between these consistent uploads. It doesn't have to be exactly a week apart or exactly 2 weeks apart. It just has to be somewhat consistent so that you have a rhythm. You get to reflect on what you did and look at the numbers. Not that I suggest people overthink the views or the likes, whatever, but you also get to learn what worked, what didn't work, and you also get to improve, Totally. So over time. And maybe for this person, I think even better, like example uploads wise, would be, say they did 7 uploads in the last 7 days. Definitely gonna get a lot done. You're gonna learn a lot, but you're more likely to burn out. Just because not anything's going to happen in 7 days, right? And some people kind of need that to happen in 7 days, like for them to be motivated enough to see that it's worth it. Versus if they did it for 7 weeks, I would argue in that 7 weeks, there's more growth. There's more realistic consistency there. Now, don't get me wrong. I know some creators, some of the most successful ones, that did do 7 days a week, right? Every single week for 1 to 2 years. And they are where they are because of that. I always think, what is the most realistic thing? And what's kind of interesting is this advice is best for both the beginner and then the creator that's on the polar opposite, that has been doing it for years, that went through that season of hustle, that became an influencer, built a business, made money. Because at one point, just saw a creator today posting saying like, you know, I've kind of like fallen off the bike a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not in my rhythm. And sometimes you just have to get back onto a consistent schedule, but it doesn't have to be what you used to be. It doesn't even have to be what you did in the very beginning. It just something about that cadence that I think is really powerful. And you see this in sports, right? There's a reason you don't practice every single day.
Yeah.
That's week to week, right? In business, more can happen, you know, just chipping away at it a little bit every single week for a whole year versus like going like crazy for 30 days and then just quitting. Okay. But anything in life, they even say what, like language, you might be able to tell me when people are learning languages, it doesn't even take that much. Like you can like spend 5 minutes a day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You can spend 5 minutes a day for like a whole year and basically like master a language enough to speak it versus if you spend like 8 hours a day for like a whole week. I feel like you probably learn a lot, but there's something about the rest,
Yes.
right? The sleep and then the dreaming of it and then thinking about it the next morning and then reflecting on it and then doing it again the next day. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Consistency. And I'll end here, not the live stream, but this answer. You know, we talk about YouTube secrets, but when we wrote this book, it took us good 4 years, and part of it was we wanted to write a book that would stand the test of time. This was written in 2018, and we barely changed the first half in the second edition. And wouldn't you know it, the 7 C's of YouTube success, first one being courage, second being clarity, all C words obviously, third one being channel, fourth being content, fifth being community, sixth cash, and what do you think the seventh one is?
Must be consistency.
It's the most important thing. And we put courage at the very beginning because you need to not worry so much about what other people say and value your dream enough to just like get up and do it.
Yeah.
But the consistency is the magic. And so that consistency being, you know, whatever that is for you in your repetition or your regimen.
Yeah. If you are interested in finding that consistency, and like you said, we love helping people who are beginning their journey as a creator. We think that the perfect way to do that is by learning how to vlog. And Benji has a new way to vlog that you can learn more about at vloggingacademy.com. The link is in the description. But at Vlogging Academy, we like to teach the 3 T's of the new vlogging method, which are all designed around that idea, not only of consistency, but sustainability over the entire arc of a creator's career. So no matter where you are, no matter who you are, we think you can learn a lot by going to vloggingacademy.com to learn more about the new vlogging method. Let's get to some follow-up. I wanted to say one more thing, and I'm so sorry about bringing this up again, about the Paramount, Warner Brothers, Netflix thing, just to put this thing to bed. Because last week, or I guess I should say in general, we've been following the Netflix versus Paramount battle for Warner Bros. Discovery. The library and the studio were, in general, as we learned last week, valued at $111 billion, according to Paramount's final bid. And Netflix originally tried to buy just the studio and streaming assets, while Paramount had moved to buy the entire company at the very end. And so ultimately, Netflix walked away and Paramount won. Now, here's why I bring this up again, because the interesting thing to me isn't who won the bid. It's why the library is worth that much money. And I kind of alluded to this a little bit last week, that $111 billion number is very interesting, but I wanted to dissect that a little bit more just to show you how important that idea of a back catalog is. And it'll show us why YouTube is so powerful and why you as a creator are so powerful for YouTube. So bear with me here. For Paramount, this was a horizontal consolidation. So for those who don't know, in the industry, there's 2 different kinds of consolidations, horizontal and vertical. A horizontal is like 2 companies that do the same thing, combining together, one buying the other, and because they kind of do the same thing. A vertical one is a supplier integrating with somebody who's a distributor. So an example of this would be someone like Apple, who is buying up the chip maker underneath them or buying up a display maker. They don't make their own displays. They buy that from somebody and they put it into a giant phone sandwich, right? But if there was a vertical integration, they would be combining the chip with Apple, right? Or the screen with Apple. Now, an example of a horizontal merger would be like Apple buying Google or Google's Pixel division because they're both selling Pixels, or Apple buying Samsung or something like that because they're both selling phones. In this case, Paramount combining with Warner Bros. Discovery is a lot more like that latter one, where it's a phone company combining with a phone company, right? Whereas Netflix would have been more like a phone company combining with a display company or a chip company or something like that. And so the reason this is interesting is because what is happening with Paramount is that they already run a legacy Hollywood system. They have studios, they have distribution, they have TV networks. And with Warner's library and Paramount's library, you get this massive combined back catalog for them to surface on like Paramount Plus, for example. And so one of the things that people say when they get into these horizontal mergers, again, like a phone company combining with a phone company, they start saying the word synergy. You've heard that word before. You know what like the translation of synergy actually really is?
Oh, the translation of synergy, like they work well together, they complement each other. Like there's not a lot of friction. There's more like attraction and flow, and it's smooth and kind of logical, and just like it's a great connection. Yeah,
you would think that is what it means because it is kind of true. That was the original sense of the term. But really what it is that it is sort of a way of being a euphemism to describe cutting jobs. If I'm just being honest.
Cutting jobs?
Because if you think about it, you've got two companies that do the same thing. And if they combine together, are they going to hire are they going to have two accounting departments? Or are they going to have one accounting department? Are they going to have two sets of decision makers? Or
so you're saying in the context of corporate America and the combining of two different companies, that synergy represents letting go of people.
Letting go of people. Sorry to pull that rug out from underneath you.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah.
But this is just my interpretation. The idea of synergy means that they're going to take those jobs and basically figure out which ones they keep and figure out which ones they get rid of and cut the ones that are duplicated effort. So it's a synergy in the sense that you can all push towards the same end goal, but really a synergy in this sense means that like you're looking to make things more efficient, right? So here's the core point. With Paramount and Warner Bros. Combining, you have those quote unquote synergies. You cut all of that overhead. Now, I want you to do a thought experiment with me, which is that let's imagine that they bought all of this Warner Brothers back catalog, but let's just say they went crazy, like literally just did something stupid, like they cut all of the jobs. It's just a guy who knows how to run the streaming platform and he has the back catalog and that's it. Would that still be valuable? Would people still subscribe to a Paramount Plus that just had a back catalog and a way to stream it?
As long as it functioned in a way that it worked, the way that it was expected to work from the customers who might not even care or know that there was any kind of acquisition. As long as that's fine, yeah, it would be fine. And like you said, there's a lot of departments that's already at Netflix that can be, I guess grown. By the way, not an expert at this, but what often happens is those departments in the buyer, they usually soak up a lot of the personnel or they let go of those personnel. I've actually seen this at Disney.
Oh, interesting.
Disney acquired a big business and there's people at that business that went from being in this company, I won't name it, and then they became Disney employees and they eventually just kind of like expired out. And then the thing that was most valuable stays in Disney, and guess what? Also gets not only sucked into the Disney like ecosystem, the branding goes away.
Synergies. And so if they were to cut all that overhead, the back catalog alone basically would still be valuable. And you can bet that if it's a bigger back catalog, that it's more valuable. It's that easy, right? But think about this from the Netflix perspective. If we go down the alternate path of history where Netflix buys Warner Bros., here's the interesting thing. That was the vertical integration. And the reason for that is because Netflix doesn't really have their own traditional studio culture. Right? They didn't come up in old Hollywood. They were the new startup that basically just bought up a bunch of stuff, put it all in one platform, and let anybody pay a small monthly fee to watch any of it, right? And so they don't have the studio culture. They don't have a long-term intellectual property machine, right? And so buying Warner Brothers could have instantly given them these things: a century-old studio, a bunch of franchises that are super valuable, creative infrastructure about how to relate to these types of people, brands that people like HBO, the ability to manufacture a future catalog, which is kind of the most important thing. And so the translation here is that Netflix wasn't doing this sort of quote unquote synergistic thing. They were doing an actually synergistic thing, to your point, which is that they weren't buying old content. They were buying the factory that created that that new content, right? And so what does that mean? Let's first start by looking at Hollywood. The first thing is that in general, for Hollywood, no surprise to anybody, the industry's changing. It's consolidating, right? Things are kind of collapsing. And that's why Hollywood was really concerned about Warner Bros. Being bought. Although I think they rose too much of a hullabaloo, basically, about Netflix doing it.
What
Hullabaloo.
Hullabaloo?
You guys never played Hullabaloo before?
Hullabaloo?
I don't even know where that comes from, honestly.
What was last week's word?
That was 2 weeks ago, and it was Dipsy Doodle.
Dipsy Doodle, Hullabaloo. Is this another hockey
Title.
term?
No, this one I think is just general, but
Hullabaloo. Try to even spell that neutrally. Okay, I love these words. Okay, keep going on the Netflix.
For Netflix, these giant legacy companies merging, would mean, in the case of Paramount, fewer studios, fewer decision makers, and fewer jobs, right? Which is kind of the latest sign that Hollywood isn't expanding anymore, right? But the implication is that the traditional path into Hollywood is also slowly disappearing, right? And so here's the bottom line. I think it was stupid of Netflix to miss out on this deal, straight up. Now, I think I give them props for thinking that they know what it was worth to leave, right? Mm-hmm. I give them props for having clarity about what they thought that they wanted out of these things. But them going around and singing all the praises of what they would have gotten for Warner Brothers Discovery, I think it was worth it for them strategically to win this battle against Paramount, right? If this was Paramount's best offer, given the size of Netflix, I think they should have ponied up and bought the thing. And here's why. Netflix, a long time ago, this is a really famous quote. The CEO of Netflix said, we need to become HBO before HBO comes Netflix. And so literally, this is the perfect example of this because they were literally buying HBO. But what this meant is that Netflix needed to learn how to make great art before the old studios like HBO learned how to build a great streaming platform. And so buying Warner Brothers would have solved that problem instantly. They would have been the winner of the Hollywood race, right? Because guess what? They now literally own HBO. They have as long as they managed it properly, they would have had an entire factory of things that could produce TV shows and movies and know how to distribute into things like movie theaters. And literally the only competitors that they had left in the Hollywood side of things would have been Paramount and Disney. Paramount was going to die. I mean, I almost can guarantee it. They were not even really a thing to compete with, right? You could kind of say Prime to some extent, but even them, they've kind of lost some level of interest, I think, in it. But Disney is the real behemoth in that scenario. And so if they had bought Warner Brothers, I think it would have solved that problem. But now I think the dynamic flips back to the same old battle, which is that is Netflix going to become Paramount or is Paramount going to become Netflix? And so Netflix is left sitting there fighting the same exact war that they've been fighting this entire time, right? It keeps Netflix in the battle for this high-end production, right? But as you've poked fun at me last week for saying, we still haven't brought up Netflix's other competitor, which is YouTube. And so now Netflix is fighting a war on two separate fronts. One is with old Hollywood against Paramount, which now they have a formidable competitor because it's just one big behemoth of Paramount, the last bastion of hope for Hollywood, right?
With Warner Brothers?
With Warner Brothers now. And then you've got Netflix in the middle who's kind of trying to fight them. And is Paramount going to sell movies to Netflix? Probably, maybe. I don't know. Sony will to some degree or something like that. And then on the other end of things, you've got YouTube. You've got TikTok. You've got all of the new media, social media platforms. And so to me, I don't know. I just feel like Netflix has not figured itself out. YouTube has the largest back catalog on earth. It's got continuous content production. It's got zero studio overhead. It's got direct creator supply. YouTube doesn't need to buy a studio. Creators are the studio for them. And for YouTube, that's kind of the argument that you should look at when you're overall thinking about the future for the platform. That's the recipe for success for them and for creators, because platform success opens up opportunity for creator success. So apologies for the long rant, but I'm just bringing this up because to me, this is hugely good news for YouTube, and I didn't get to say that last week.
What's better than old?
New.
The biggest takeaway from what you just said for me is that the acquisition of Paramount by Netflix, correct?
Yes.
Right? Is that they weren't getting the back catalog. They were getting the machine that can create more content, new new shows, new movies, right? We all grew up with Paramount showing up at the movie theater at the very beginning. Paramount is just a mountain, right?
Yeah.
With the snow-capped logo. And when I think about that, and even what you said, how Netflix, the CEO famously made the statement, we need to become HBO before they become us. And what he was trying to say is like, we need to become the type of studio that creates our own movies.
Yes.
Judy and I were trying to find something to watch. And funny enough, we were trying to figure out, do we have a Paramount subscription? Oh, we don't. We have to buy the show. And then we're just talking about Netflix. And, Netflix doesn't always hit the mark. It just this whole thing. Okay. But at the end of the day, one of the reasons why we're considering it and then we inevitably did buy something is because new is better than old. If you think about even Blockbuster, hundreds. We were like saying yesterday, we're like, we miss. Remember when we used to like mail in the Netflix DVD when we're done with it? And I was like, remember when we used to go to Blockbuster? And what do you always remember? There's hundreds, maybe 1,000+ movies you could rent, but we all cared about the new releases, okay? Because new is better. Even if there's legit good Academy Award winners, classics, for me, it's Forrest Gump. That's my favorite. I still want to see like what was new. And that's still the case today.
Yep.
Why a creator would care about this topic? Where is the takeaway for you when I think about it? Because I already know this, but it just reaffirms how valuable YouTube is.
Yeah.
Because why does YouTube have such leverage in this game? Why do they compete at such a higher level? New content all the time. So as a creator, what's funny? Me and Judy have a back catalog.
Yeah.
Want to talk back?
Literally
5,000 vlogs.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Crazy. Okay. And Judy edited almost all those. The thing is this: people still want to see the new vlog. They want to see the new lasagna video. They want to see the new Costco visit. They want to see the deals today. So that novelty is always going to carry so much weight. So I believe you're right about Paramount's real special ability, and HBO and all these studios is their ability to create more movies.
Yeah.
Netflix, they're getting good at it, but they never quite hit the mark.
No.
We ended up watching, I think maybe we watched this on Amazon. I think Amazon's kind of in the same boat as Netflix. We watched a new show called Fallout. Have you seen Fallout or heard of it? It's the video game turn whatever. And we're watching it, and we didn't have to buy it because we had a subscription to something. But I was like, nah, didn't really hit for me. I don't really like it. And so it's interesting. Paramount though, right? Warner Brothers, Disney, to a certain degree, sometimes they miss the mark a lot. But
I think they all do occasionally.
When they do blockbuster movies, right? Like the big ones for me are Oppenheimer or Top Gun or Avengers, very male-dominated audiences, obviously, right? But there's other ones like Barbie, okay? Yeah. Amazing.
Yes.
No one can touch it. Netflix can't touch it. Amazon can't touch it, and including YouTube can't touch it. Okay, but the problem is, why did they all die? They became such a big machine, and there's a union, and people are getting paid legit money for very technical skills. It became like a slow-moving machine.
Yeah, and they couldn't compete with Netflix and YouTube.
Then you got amateur hour over here, YouTube. I say that with a lot of love. Okay. Pumping out new stuff all the time. And it might not be a Top Gun or a Forrest Gump or a classic that you might want to rent and watch later. But right now, for this day and what I pop open YouTube and expect to watch, and I can say this with geopolitics or news or just anything that's informational, I just want what's new right now.
Yeah. And
you got a one-man band doing a geopolitics show covering whatever top news trends are going on in the world and beating out NBC. NBC also, ABC, CNN are the big machines that just move too slowly. Though they're they know how to do all that. But how is it that guy by himself is doing a news channel? And I get it. They might not have as many viewers when it's all said and done, but they have enough to be this content creation machine. So as a creator, I mean, one of the strengths that you have is that you can create content today.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Netflix, they're trying to compete against an impossible opponent right now. Okay, they should have acquired Paramount. They should be a movie and show studio. But it's like they have this FOMO about YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And YouTube's volume and its creator community and just like the content that's just so timely is just beating everybody else. And that is partly to do with technology. And that's also the demise of old Hollywood.
Yeah, I think that, one way of framing it is that sort of Netflix has just kind of delayed the end game. Like the whole Paramount, Warner Brothers thing is kind of like, they'll maybe go along and maybe they'll compete. But I feel like Hollywood's just going to kind of continue down this path, to your point, right? They're not agile enough. And I haven't really seen any evidence of, by the way, Warner Brothers has a history of killing the companies that it touches. So kind of a bad omen for Paramount. But, them going along and having the ability to, maybe make their own content at Netflix, that's a skill that they can develop. I think that that's kind of the bet that they're making on themselves, but it's going to take a long time. And meanwhile, YouTube is over here getting, 400 billion hours of content every hour or something like that.
And helping the new creator that's starting today make some money, right? Give them the platform to do brand deals and then connect with the audience to sell their own products. Nothing can touch that. Yeah. That's what's just crazy about the whole kind of story. And, if someone's listening, every week when Austin is bringing up Netflix, I'm like, okay, what is going on? What's the angle here? But all this is just to show you how powerful YouTube is as a platform and how much power you have as a creator.
Yep.
And don't take it for granted, because though they're not as sexy as this movie star, this Hollywood, limelight, red carpet type of vibe, they are still one of the best places to be as a human that wants to create some content. And nothing's going to match it, no matter how many studios Netflix buys, no matter how good Disney gets at creating content again or whatever. And it's also two different games. I actually personally feel like movies and shows will still have relevance, so Paramount can succeed.
Yeah.
But they have to be bigger and better.
Yes.
Versus trying to be smaller and more volume.
Well, I think the thing that I'm trying to bring up though about Netflix is that they have the algorithm at their disposal, and they have the ability to understand kind of the internet at their disposal, right? I mean, they got their start taking content that already existed, kind of like YouTube, and finding an audience for it on Netflix using an algorithm. Paramount and all of these other apps don't really do that, right? Yeah. And that algorithm is the thing that YouTube leverages to its fullest extent, but Netflix could have utilized, but doesn't really necessarily.
But YouTube doesn't know how to make Top Gun type of movies. Though, I will say, that's what Nucci just said. It's coming.
Yeah.
And I believe there are creators today that will become the next superstars in movies and shows and specials, everything.
Doom and gloom for Netflix in Austin's eyes, but also a little doom and gloom for new media too, because I wanted to talk about something we've been talking about for the last month. We've been tracking the decline of Google search across the entire web. And the thesis has been that AI is eating the search results and text-based publishers are kind of suffocating across the internet, like traditional, good old-fashioned websites, right? The phrase that I have used to describe this is Google Zero, inspired by the editor-in-chief of The Verge, Nilay Patel, who coined that term. And this week, we kind of got the ultimate scary case study about what's happening across the web. And I think that there's some lessons for creators in it as well. So here's context. Are you guys familiar with RTings.com, RTings.com?
No.
They kind of are like the ultimate consumer reports. They sort of are like a nerdier version of the Wirecutter, if you guys are familiar with the Wirecutter. And what they do is they're kind of the gold standard for independent, highly technical reviews of things like TVs, monitors, headphones. I think they do like vacuum cleaners and stuff too. They buy all their own products to avoid bias. And this week, Ratings just announced a massive change to their model, which is that they're putting all of their test data behind a hard paywall on their website. They're no longer giving it away for free, which they've done since their inception. And so they made a video about this, and this is what they had to say.
For years, the internet worked in a relatively simple way. Independent sites invested in original research, and search engines sent people to that research. So if you created something genuinely useful, you were rewarded with traffic to support your work. Today, When you search for something like Best TV, you might see an AI overview and sponsored results and then product listings. Organic search results are pushed far down. Even when a site ranks first organically, fewer people actually reach it. And that's if you are lucky and the first organic result is actually good. Recently, AI summaries have increased this problem even further. Instead of sending users to the original source, Google often answers the questions directly on the results page. Even if it sometimes cites the sources, users click on the sources less because they don't need to. From a consumer side, this is often very useful because you don't need to dig into an unknown website with ads to figure out the answer you're looking for.
So if you take a look at that, basically what they're saying is that what they used to do, their game used to be rank on Google search and land number one. But there's some AI stuff going on there, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I want to avoid the AI question at the beginning here because
I was ready to go. I was like,
the only part of the AI discussion that I want to look at is the fact that, number one, the very first thing you see when you search for things that they would traditionally rank for is an AI summary, which I'm not worried about the AI summary. I'm worried about the fact that it's not the search result is not the first thing you see anymore, right? And then the second thing is that they then list a bunch of products along the next thing. So it's a whole other carousel that takes up space before you finally, and this is way below the fold at this point, see an ratings.com result. And so what they're saying is that their business model, which relied on a bunch of Google organic traffic and affiliate links, is struggling, partially because the amount of the things that are on the search result page is just huge. It's like google.com has changed when you search for things, right? And these AI overviews and LLMs, they're scraping the data and stuff like that, which we'll talk about in a second. But to me, the first part of the discussion is AI aside, search results are more competitive and harder to compete for because they're pushed down than before. And on YouTube, we've seen this with shorts. So I'm curious about what your thoughts are about that. Like when you see that search result, does that ring true to things you're seeing on YouTube too?
I just have a problem with answering this and talking about it without talking about AI.
I promise we'll get to AI. I
Okay.
absolutely promise.
Well, the reason I bring it up is, of course, like there's going to be less traffic on anything that's being disrupted by the way the search engines are providing information. They used to be a conduit to the site or the destination. Now they are the destination. They are like hard stop, the end, because you got what you needed. Not everything, right? But a lot of things. And I would say more and more. What's nuts is, like there's this whole thing about search and monopolies, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be even bigger. Now, there's going to be other companies because there are, but absolutely. So this person, I don't even know this person, the brand or the business or the site, but I totally feel their pain because it's happening to blog writers.
Yeah.
It's happening to creators to a certain degree, even within the creator platforms. Okay. This morning, 2 videos. I didn't want to wake Judy up. And guess what? I hit the AI button.
Oh, interesting.
And I read the whole thing. I did not watch it. Now I have YouTube Premium, so I don't watch any ads. What I'm saying is, I wouldn't be surprised if that's less credit they're going to get.
Yeah,
okay?
I think it actually is because I'm pretty sure it's decided based off of watch time, which is one thing. But again, to me, the thing that I'm looking at here is something like the actual shorts carousels that you get when you're searching, right? Like I think about creators that we know that the whole business model was to rank and then get your stuff on that first search result and have people watch your video and then buy from your affiliate link. That's less possible now because where your one video was before, you've got like 5, 6, 8 shorts.
Well, okay. So number one, I've talked to creators. They said their affiliates are down, but you know what is up? TikTok Shop.
Oh, interesting.
So TikTok Shop is up, but again, they're folding into the actual user interface and kind of the way that they're watching content or using the platform natively, and then they're getting those sales. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, they're making videos for the For You page, not for the search result page on TikTok, right?
Yeah. And are you trying to like really just isolate to search?
Yeah,
right?
at the beginning here.
I think my point that I'm trying to make too is search is just different. I swore forever. I was like, oh, there's no way kids are going to be searching on TikTok. They absolutely are for everything. Newly's over here shaking his head. Yes. Like, because places to eat, right? topics, trends, news, information, even just like if they want to learn something, they're going on there. So they're not even going to the regular internet. And then that just spilt over to everybody, I believe. So I absolutely, creators are saying it. And there's a new way for like affiliates to work. So going back to this original example, they're trying to adjust, or they're late to adjusting to this new game with new rules and just kind of like a new user experience. And this is why you can't not talk about AI, even though we're going to talk about it a little bit later, because it is disrupting it at such a high level. More and more, like by the week, I'm like, geez, this is getting crazy. Because even, like, well, for us, again, the opposite of that is what AI can't do, right? And so we're seeing this kind of interesting trend in our analytics because we didn't ever do short form. We're not on TikTok shorts or reels. We do upload that content, but it's not like our mainstay. It's not like the big thing that we create. So in some ways, some of our longer form content is getting even more views, right? Or more average view duration. You just have to recognize that the rules are different. And if you don't, you're going to just see your views go down or your traffic go down or your sales or affiliates income go down too, which they are.
Yeah, that's what Ratings is experiencing, which is that they're getting pushed down and therefore not seen as much as they used to. And if they're not seen as much and they had an advertising model before, then they're not making as much money as they used to, which is a problem for their business model, which is why they're going behind the paywall. But of course, as I promised you that we would talk about, and as it's clear that it's really important to this story, AI is a huge piece of this as well. So there's an even darker side to this because of the AI stuff. Usually, can we roll the clip?
The end result is that while it makes some websites like ours appear more often, the actual clicks are down. If fewer people reach the original research, fewer resources flow back to the people doing that work. Over time, that weakens the incentive to produce rigorous, independent testing in the first place. And it's not just us who are affected. Some websites that used to provide real and in-depth journalism insights, like Anantech, have stopped operations. If independent testing labs can sustain themselves because fewer people reach their work, original data production slows down. Eventually, AI systems won't be trained on fresh reviews that actually tested the products. They will be trained on summaries of summaries of summaries. If independent testing fades away, buyers are left with marketing instead of measurements.
So as you were mentioning, AI is pushing down direct search clicks, which is what we just talked about, but also they're directly stealing their traffic because the AI is answering, and they're taking the information that was previously on that page and synthesizing it together with other information and then putting it up, and people aren't clicking through. And so, of course, that's killing all their traffic and affiliate revenue as well. Tell me more about like what you were thinking as far as AI goes.
Well, again, why it's not fair to not talk about it is because before AI was the topic of discussion in terms of what Google is doing in terms of serving your needs when you're going to search. Before, they were just trying to drive more traffic by giving you enough, right, like information that you might want to click on it and go through.
Yeah.
They were competing literally against ChatGPT, just gave you the information real quick. And people just love convenience. They like speed. They like it right now. And so they're like, you know what? Because it took forever, right? We always said, hey, when are they going to like turn on the Gemini button? And it year and a half, 2 years go by, and they're like, you know what? We just got to do it. We just got to like rip the Band-Aid off and just give the people what they want. We need to become ChatGPT. We need to do exactly what we're doing. See, what they were trying to avoid was basically cannibalizing their whole business model.
Yeah.
You want to talk about who's in trouble? I think that Google, in a way, is in trouble because they have to figure out, like,
how do they monetize?
How do we monetize it? How do we not like get everyone to hate us, right? That's where YouTube's kind of interesting because you still go there for the video itself in some cases, not like information.
Yeah.
If you can just read it. It's funny. Like I felt like this is a side note. ChatGPT has made us more readers than ever before. Like we're reading more than we did in the past just because, like the information right away. So I think that there are bigger and bigger percentages of content and including creators who are going to have to start competing or losing against AI. And this is happening in my space. But if it's happening in the content space, which includes some entertainment value, visuals and whatnot, it's definitely happening on the static website.
Yeah.
Where again, why would you even go to a blog, right? We talk about recipes. You want to get the ingredients. Boom, ChatGPT just like makes up the ingredients, okay? And then say you're going to get information about like something happening. Well, maybe you just want a certain list of information. So, right now the Iran war is going on. Well, maybe you don't care about all the little nuances and the, like day-to-day happenings. Maybe you only want to know how it affects oil prices, that affects the economy, that affects your stocks. You can ask these AI tools to give it to you like that. It's like Insta Creator, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
You won't get the pretty visual right now, but eventually but you're going to, hey, I want The Rock. Okay. giving me my recipe ingredients and how to's. I don't see that far away. It might feel cringe at first. It might get realistic. It won't ever be like a human doing it. But if it's just enough, it's just kind of like almost like a gimmick. It like just becomes something that's like interesting and entertaining. But what are you trying to get? You're just trying to get the recipe, right? So they just make it a little bit more visually compelling versus just reading. And then boom, they're off to the races. And then the more people use it, the more it fuels the knowledge. Me and Neutrally today, you know what we were doing? Because normally we have a third show we run.
Yeah.
On today, okay, we didn't, so we're just sitting here, him and I, like twiddling our fingers. We're like, hey, let's just use Gemini and let's make the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Okay, because normally it's kind of a back and forth thing. We don't really take it too seriously, but today we sat for like a good 30 minutes and we both were masters at making thumbnails. I'm not a graphics person. He's not a graphics person. And just from a little bit of back and forth, he's using GPT, I'm using Gemini. The thumbnail we used today, he made it on Gemini. He's used it for the first time today. And I was in disbelief. And it's funny because I made a good one first and I like screamed. I was like, whoa, right? I can't believe this. And then he turns around like 60 seconds later and makes an even better one with his first time using Gemini. So that's just one anecdotal example of how AI is serving our needs, right? And that's like, think about this. Canva, that's an editing software. We're not using that anymore. Photoshop, we might not be using that anymore. And the number of other graphics softwares that we don't have to use because the Gemini can do it, right? Nano Banana, that's our image creation tool. That's happening literally across the board. And I wasn't actually a fan of it. I was kind of against it because I like the craftiness of people using like Photoshop or Canva. And I believe that there's still instincts artistically as well that, you can't replicate. But man, it got pretty close today. Like if you compare two of our thumbnails, the one where I have my editor using a graphics tool to do it versus the one that him and I just did, just like from free time using Gemini, mind blowing. So this is why now I'm saying to all creators, you got to pay attention to this. You got to be using it. And if not, like listen to people like us, talk to other people that are AI experts, pay attention to what other creators are doing, because now you're moving faster, you're getting better, and you can create more content than ever before. So there's no way that this doesn't get bigger and better and more of a bigger problem.
Yeah, and I think that what you're describing for like Photoshop and all of these other like applications, the fact that they're getting superseded by AI in terms of like the functionality is also kind of what we're describing about what's happening to ratings here, right? Which is that this is kind of like you were alluding to, this is the end game for text-based publishers. They're going to, this is my theory, they're all going to go behind a paywall. Everybody's going to go behind a paywall because guess what? What's the point of trying to earn traffic if you're just giving your information to the AI, right? Maybe AI will pay like little micro payments each time they go through. There'll be like a toll booth on the internet or something like that. But like when AI hoovers up all your $1 million lab data for free, your only option is to paywall, right? Or die, basically. But there's a twist. You ready for the twist? They're staying free on YouTube because they have a huge YouTube presence. And so this website that has all of this text data that they're putting behind a paywall is still going to publish YouTube videos. And not only that, They're not putting it behind a paywall. They're leaving it 100% free.
Won't Gemini just steal that?
Well, so here's my question. Why is YouTube different for ratings.com as opposed to their blog? I'm curious about what your perspective is. I have an idea, but I'm curious about what your thoughts are.
Well, number one, you can still make ad income, right? So AdSense. Two, if it's not AdSense, it can be premium YouTube users income because you get a little piece of the pie. If somebody that doesn't watch ads, but they pay for that premium service, you get some of that income. And third, you know what's better than reading an answer is hearing an answer from somebody you like, trust, care about, or like. So there's that human element from it. I tell you about one of my favorite geopolitics guy, just walk and talk. My wife Judy calls him the hiker geopolitics guy, right? Peter Zane. Okay, never met the guy. It's funny, like in normal life, I don't think we would be friends. He's not like someone I would go hiking with. But man, I like the way he brings information to me. I like his vibe. He is very knowledgeable, been doing it for decades. So I'd rather listen to him tell me about the thing versus reading about the thing from ChatGPT. So the thing about YouTube that a lot of people forget, even though it's happening to them, you build a connection with the creator on the other side. So even with me just saying, hey, I watched the AI summarization tool and I literally read everything, there's still a lot of value for those people that want it delivered in like a very human way. That's my thoughts. Those three things is the AdSense income, the premium subscribers income, and then the third one being just the fact that you're spending more time with them. So you grow this connection, and guess what happens? You want to continue not only listening and watching their content, you might want to support them by even subscribing to their paid stuff, even if you never go over there. I know that there's some people that do that. They'll literally, like creators, will be like, hey guys, I'm doing this membership thing. I just need more income to make this work. I would love to put out 7 videos a week versus right now I can only do 1 or 2 because I work a day job. There's a lot of people that will pay. I've paid to help support creators I like. That's my thought.
Yeah, and I think the first two are interesting from your perspective, the idea of having AdSense and of getting a cut of the YouTube premium pie, because actually those are more questions to me than they are answers, because guess what? They were getting that ad revenue from like Google ads over on their website before. So it's like, what's the difference? What's actually
value, the expected method of value delivery. So when you go to Google, you expect to go and read something. Typically, if you're going out onto the internet, you're going to their website, you're going to read it, right? Even if you're going to listen to it, okay? Because if you just purely want to watch a video or listen to someone's podcast, you go right to the source, which would be YouTube. So it's a different intention. That's why I'm saying, like, there's more of those people. That's why, like, I'm abnormal that I go to YouTube and I read the summary. Most people don't do that, okay? I just do that because I can, and it's a very limited time of day. Don't get me wrong, 98% of my YouTube consumption is watching the video or listening to the audio, so...
Yeah, and I guess that's why I think the third one is so important that you brought up, which is that the people that you watch, the connections that you make with somebody are why you're watching their video in the first place. Is because like we value that connection to someone else. And on YouTube, even more so than in text in an interesting way, you gain a connection with somebody because you can literally see them on the other side of things. Like you connect with the fact that they're showing up on screen and that you can kind of like imagine them in your life to some degree or another, right? And, to me, that's sort of the amazing thing because, we talked about this the last couple of weeks. Shout out to Doc Rock. AI versus YOU is the battle of the vowels is the common thing that we bring up on this show. And these people, they're going to have more success. And even like a website like ratings.com, who is like very technical in the way they approach the videos, there's kind of you get endeared to the way that these people carry themselves. Maybe you like their personalities. Maybe you like the fact that they're so thorough. And guess what? I think this is the real kicker. It's entertaining. Right. And that idea of being entertained and gaining some information while you're being entertained, I think is kind of the bottom line. And so here are my takeaways. Information is a commodity generally that AI will steal. In fact, we talked about last week the fact that, YouTube is cited more in AI search than Reddit nowadays. So, it's coming for YouTube too. And then also personality and community are the only moats that you really have left when you do these things. Now, speaking of competition with AI, the other week, there was an article published about something happening with YouTube's algorithm on YouTube Kids. There's something weird that's going on in terms of the feed that they're creating. And so I'm going to quote from the New York Times, where they say, Old McDonald had a farm. An animated Old MacDonald had a farm was being played as an animated horse with 2 arms and 4 legs hatched an egg. In the video, a pink elephant, an orange flamingo, and other animals appear next to letters of the alphabet, performing complicated gymnastic maneuvers on tight ropes. And in this video, animals form from paint being squirted onto a glass of water and inexplicably grow mermaid tails. The New York Times reviewed these clips with more than 1,000 other videos recommended to young children on YouTube, and found that the algorithm pushes bizarre, often nonsensical AI-generated videos from channels claiming to, quote, to teach toddlers and preschoolers about alphabet and animals. In some videos, animals and people have warped faces or extra body parts. Often, the videos contain garbled text. Most clips have incoherent narratives, some riddled with misinformation, and none are longer than about 30 seconds, allowing little time to develop ideas, plots, or any sense of repetition that is often necessary for learning. Now produced with the help of readily available artificial intelligence tools and online tutorials, many of these videos have millions of views and counting, with channels churning out these videos at a rapid rate, sometimes even multiple times a day. Many of the YouTube accounts producing AI-generated videos, reviewed by The Times, specifically target the youngest of viewers and their parents, marketing their channels as educational as opposed to entertainment. Creators are profiting off this content with little oversight from YouTube. Quote, "To me, the meaninglessness of these videos is a huge problem because they're just attention capture," said Dr. Jenny Radeski, a developmental behavioral pediatrician and associate professor of pediatrics at the University of Michigan's Medical School. Quote, "And then the worst case is that it's so fantastical and full of attention capture that it's going to be cognitively overloading to the child." So more and more, the New York Times found that all of this AI slop content was being pushed into the YouTube kids feeds and overwhelming the amount of things that they were seeing. And so I'm curious about what your reaction is, Benji, as someone who has a deep relation to the kind of the YouTube Kids app and understands it very well, but also someone who's connected to the creators, the creator economy, and the whole thing that's going on with AI.
So it makes me think of when YouTube Kids first came out, and there was already kids content on YouTube, but the YouTube Kids app made it so that younger kids didn't have to use their parents' account, and it was just like appropriate. It was assumed to be safe, and it was made for kids. The YouTube Kids app. Okay, so I knew creators and channels, and like really big ones, like some of the biggest ones that had like 1 billion views on one video. Okay, and they had a complaint in like the early years of YouTube Kids app, because before there was AI slop, there was called factory slop.
Whoa, really?
I just made up that term
okay.
because the real term that was being used was not appropriate. Okay, it's not PC. Okay. Factory slop is where they were creating, these studios are basically just factories for kids content. They were using, software to create it. So it's completely done off of software. And you could say like, it was almost like, when someone's using CGI on a movie, right?
Yeah.
And when it's bad, it's like kind of cringe.
Totally.
But for a kid, they don't know the difference.
Yes.
And as long as it keeps you entertained. So what was happening is, not only were they pumping out tons of videos, because they're like, hey, this one video might not work, but like if we switch it up a little bit, maybe put like, sometimes they'll put 3 or 4 videos in a different sequence and then put a different title and different thing. And so the proper studios, and when I say the proper studios, the ones where like they cared about the well-being of the kids, or they cared about the art, or they really didn't want to just like create different versions of one video. They just make the one video and they deliver it to their subscribers or to other kids that are watching, and just hope that it would be good for them. In a way, they're like, they didn't even hope, they knew it would be good because they took the time to create quality content. But this factory slop was winning the battle just because it was all being done with technology, and they didn't care about the quality. They cared about the quantity. And they were just tapping into this like this almost addiction that a kid would have without the supervision of a parent. So parents would leave their kids with their YouTube Kids, which is safe. You should still pay attention though, because they're swiping through.
Totally.
The whole TikTokification thing was actually happening on YouTube Kids way before TikTok.
That's crazy. I
Yes,
didn't know that.
it was.
When was this, by the way?
2015 and 16 might have been like the heights of this. And so first off, creators and channels are complaining about this on the ones that were doing high quality content. They thought, they almost have like an entitlement. Like, hey, we shouldn't be competing against this factory slop. Okay. This is like clearly just taking advantage of the kids' attention spans and the fact that they're on the YouTube Kids app all day long. Secondly, YouTube also didn't like it too because they didn't want to be known for factory slop.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, we called it something different in like the circles that are rolling, okay? And so that was all happening. So like fast forward to AI slop. It's the same thing, okay? AI slop, I think that it can become addictive to a certain degree for anybody, but kids that don't know the difference, right? They don't know the difference between Blippi. I actually have a lot of respect for Blippi. He like sold the IP and the whole family now. There's Blippi and the other gal, what's her name? Not Miss Rachel, but there's other characters. High quality content. It's still like to me like, oh, weird. But man, I'll be watching 30 minutes later with my kid, okay? Compared to the AI slop, all right? That takes time. That person, Blippi, has to be at this place, like the mall, in these like kids areas and literally like creating the content, talking about this ball and the colors and, teaching numbers and all that kind of stuff. AI slop, same thing as the factory slop. It's just like turn and burn, right?
Well, yeah, like 10x worse or 100x worse though.
Yeah, and it's exactly. It's infinite. So I had already seen kind of this all play out.
Wow.
And so those people, it's almost impossible to compete. So,
well, what happened at the end of that story? What happened to the factory slop farms?
So one of the things that they were doing was there's a policy against doing compilations of different videos. So what they were doing was they like figured out, instead of like just having a different upload for all these videos, we can compile these videos in different sequences. And they were abusing the attention span of these kids.
That's crazy.
And doing like 50-minute videos. Okay.
Yeah.
So first off, they were kind of like the YouTube team. And I forget exactly what they did, but they did something to try to favor people making quality kids content. In the name of safety, in the name of well-being and more educational stuff, because they didn't create the YouTube Kids app to make you addicted, right? Even though, of course, ultimately all platforms want you to be addicted. They want you to use it all day, every day. But still, with kids, because as parents, we're concerned for their well-being, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, even though we might be addicted to YouTube too, okay? So then they create these policies. Well, this is the ironic thing of the whole like situation. All those proper studios creating high quality content, they started compiling their own videos and making these compilations of that content, doing the exact same thing because it worked.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then it became such a common thing. And then it was just, again, it was just competition. But what you can say is, who ultimately learned? This is why I love like people's freedom of choice. Parents are like, what the heck is my kid watching? I don't want this factory slop kind of crap. I like, I don't even want to name the channels. I don't want to put anybody in a worse situation, but I like this higher quality content. So fast forward to Blippi. Funny, I wasn't like a big fan of Blippi, but then when I saw the AI slop, I'm like Blippi all day. I'm like typing in Blippi. I'm looking for Miss Rachel, like that kind of stuff. I want my kid to watch. I don't want this AI slop. So it happened with the parent. In fact, that was one of the things, like even YouTube said, hey, we can only protect your kids so much. It's up to you to do it. And so they built in tools to let you guess what you do. What do you call it? Like you like turn off the notifications of certain channels.
Oh, interesting.
So like
you mute them.
You mute them. So as a parent, you can mute all these channels.
Wow.
I think just like over time to like we can tell what these guys are doing to my kids. So that's what's happening. So this was kind of interesting that you even bring this up. When I see what's happening with AI slop just in general on Instagram, on TikTok, obviously on Sora, it's 100%. And even on YouTube, you're starting to see it more and more. And even like not AI slop directly, but just like AI created content, including our thumbnail. It's funny. Our thumbnail sometimes when we use AI is like borderline, nah, but like we still use it a little bit. I'll never get it to the point where it's like clearly made by AI, okay? Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is I've already seen this story play out. So number one, number one, the creators are going to complain, and they are complaining. They're like, yo, my views are going down. They might not even know what's going on. That's why I'm yelling. I'm like, you guys, AI is part of the problem, right? You have to figure out what are you going to do different. Secondly, the platforms realize, we wanted people to use AI and everything, right? We know it's being used, but like it's pushing out our creators.
Yeah.
They're changing their business model. This story that we just talked about,
Yes.
this business is like, yo, we're not even gonna play the Google game no more. We're playing our whole new game. Maybe they make less money. Maybe they make more money. But the point is like, we can't live in that space anymore. And then finally, the viewer decides, I don't want this AI slop. Have you ever gone in a rabbit hole and just watched AI slop for an hour? You can be honest with me.
Not AI slop, no. But I mean, short form content, I will fall into a rabbit hole.
But if you had to guess, how good would you feel after watching a whole hour of AI slop?
No, just terrible.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's like eating.
Would you keep feeling horrible, or would you make a decision to either get off or watch something else?
Well, it depends on how much self control I have at that point in time. I mean, honestly.
But what I'm saying is, after 2 days of it, 3 days of it.
When I would get to the point where I was self-aware, I would much rather choose to go in a different direction. Actually, honestly, that's why I deleted all of the short-form apps off of my phone for a long period of time.
I turned off YouTube Shorts on my home feed.
Yeah.
Because of it. Because even today, they snuck shorts into my home feed.
It's crazy.
I clicked on it
like
because
impossible to
I've
get
been
rid of
doing
it.
fried chicken lately, and I've been like keen on thing. I didn't even think about it. I wasn't even conscious about it because I took it off my home feed. It snuck in there. I hit it, and then like it was only like 5 minutes later. I'm like, why am I watching YouTube Shorts? How did I even end up here? So then when you exit out, it
freaky.
shows you where you started.
Yeah.
It was a short have fun. Now that's proper shorts. Okay. So you put the AI slop, which again, going back to the story about kids, will literally just feed you, no pun intended, the exact thing that you want.
Yeah. It's even more entrancing.
And that's just what's scary about like AI taking the world. AI taking over the world. You know the most dystopian thing that I think is actual truthful is this. It's not them taking over the internet or breaching someone's security or your money or taking over like missiles and nukes for countries. No, it's literally just creating so much AI slop that you don't think is slop. It's just like so good because it's exactly what you want to watch. And you're just like, I can't stop. Okay. Yeah. And then that's how they control you. This is propaganda 101. Okay. They just get into, okay. So the big takeaway for me is you have to go longer. You have to do live streams. You have to create the type of content that's clearly opposite of the AI slop game and environment. Because after you become self-aware that I'm watching too much AI slop, not saying that you do, but if you did, you watch something different. Now, in your case, you're deleting the platforms, but do you ever turn on the TV? Do you ever like watch a movie? Do you ever watch a documentary or sports commentary?
Of course.
Your sports commentary, does it come from AI slop or like an actual commenter?
An actual human being.
Actual human being. Let me ask you, how long are these shows sometimes?
Oh, geez. I mean, they can be dozens of hours sometimes.
Dozens of hours. But like, just take one
An
show.
average one would be like, I don't know, like 20 minutes, 40 minutes.
And it just starts there.
Yeah.
Okay. And for AI to create a 20 minutes thing in real time, remember the other thing I said earlier today? I was like, the thing that makes YouTube unique, and set aside the AI slop and short form, is that you make content today about today for someone that wants today's new piece of content. And right now as a creator, like you can do that. And in fact, that's like even today, we did a live stream cooking in my kitchen. And I was making this comment, like, I've become so busy. It is harder for me with the other things I'm starting, other things I'm planning. I've got the big creator event coming up for me to vlog, even the new vlog method. But you know what I love about live streaming? I can just do it. I can just talk to the people. And it's, just starting out. It's not as many views as like some of my viral Costco videos, but that's how it is when you start anything new. Point is this, I can do it in an instant. And I can go live for a whole hour.
Yeah.
And that is what AI cannot do. So I'm trying to find people after the AI slop exit, okay? And this is a thing. Because AI slop is so addictive, this is a sad truth. short form creators have to play that game and make their stuff addictive too. So you fall in the same umbrella of addictive type of content because you are competing against them and you're competing against everybody else. And so for me, it's like, what is opposite? More laid back, more casual, more relatable, more relaxed, longer, right? Not as produced. Literally, I mean, I give Nutually a lot of credit. He's like the greatest live stream producer I know, at least, right? But he ain't doing a lot of like editing and it's funny. Once in a while, he was throwing like an applause or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's funny." The kids love it. But generally speaking, it's just me. It's literally just me and my cooking, and there's not a lot of pizzazz there. So anything fancy we do is like with Ecamm Live, the software, but it has nothing to do with like addictive type of content. It's the opposite. So when I hear about this, I just went on a long rant about like the whole history of this type of content. That's where technology was used. AI is just like a better version of technology. They were like, when I say they were, these factory studios were doing this 10 years ago. They just weren't using AI. They were just using the tools to be able to pump out quantity. And that's why now when I see that, you know, in a matter of like, in 10 minutes, I can take something like Sora. How many videos can I make? Like maybe 20, 30, right? And it's just a matter of them uploading, right? Like processing or whatever. It's like game over. So don't play that game. You got to play a new game and play different rules and not compete against that. All that will just eat itself alive and just kind of like become this thing that, sometimes you go and entertain it or whatever. But here, this is real. And this is why I think even in-person events are even more important to people more than ever.
Speaking of children in YouTube scenarios, there was kind of this massive, heartbreaking story that happened in the creator space that you actually shared with me the other day. The former teen YouTuber, and I think it's Jessalyn Grace, dropped this tell-all video where she talked about starting her channel all the way back in 2016, hitting 1.5 million subscribers by 2018, and then this week releasing a video where she claims that her mom used this old iPad to log in, delete all of the videos on her current channel that she had as an adult. And the question, of course, that surrounds all of this was the question, why? Why would her mom do this? And again, according to Jessalyn, when she was a child, she kind of framed herself as the sole provider for her family when it came to being a child YouTuber. Now, the claims that she has that her mom basically forced her to read these scripts and perform perfectly and would sort of, again, the phrase that she would use is abusively approach her in terms of forcing her to create this content. And then she claims that later on, her mom would disguise the earnings that they were making on YouTube, saying that they didn't make a lot of money, but then would go blow these earnings on things like luxury designer handbags, expensive weddings, nice cars, and things like that. And again, Jessalyn claims that she saw almost none of and she says millions potentially that she had generated. And so, now she says that she's completely self-supporting. She's going to college right now and just posted this video as a part of a tell-all. And she made this video. It's got 1.4 million views, so it's making the rounds. But I'm curious. I mean, you sent this video to me. You're a family vlogger. You've answered this question to tons of people when I've been around you. I'm curious about your thoughts and then what your thoughts are when it comes to parents who are considering putting their kids in their content.
Yeah, the reason I want to comment on this is because it's one of the number one questions I get, not only from people that want to become family vloggers or start creating that type of content, but even people that aren't and are just curious, hey, what do you think about this? In fact, this was a video that was sent to me, and I don't even have any like context of why they sent it to me. They just said, oh, this is kind of in your wheelhouse. I believe they just thought, hey, you might want to comment on this on the show. Let's do it, okay? And I talked to my wife, and I was like, totally, we should. And so, number one, when people look at this situation, I don't even know that Jessalyn, right?
I think it is.
I didn't even watch the whole video. I already knew this story. This ain't new, okay? This has happened many times. The difference is this girl got her whole content library deleted, and right now, if you go to her channel, it's just this one thing, okay? And it got 1 million views, probably got 2 million views now. And what I can say first off, to lay down the groundwork for like a broader perspective, there's a spectrum here, okay? I've met, and I like to think I'm one of those family creators that definitely doesn't abuse their kids and also takes in account to like what my kids actually want. Now, at the end of the day, this is my belief, is like the parent makes a decision, okay? We don't know. Like, again, we don't know everything that's going on in that world, and kids are kids and they'll say whatever, okay? But there's a spectrum, okay? And I've seen it all. And I've seen it play out too, okay? I'm not even going to name any names. You can just go down through the history of YouTube and see like a lot of these families. And I think one thing that I can speak to, but guess what? I say it, but knock on wood, because my kids are 13 years old, 12 years old, and all the way down to now like 3 years old. Well, what happens when they're 18 like this kid? Would they want to? In fact, it's one of our number one concerns and fears. Not that they're going to out us, that they would even think like this was a negative thing, okay? So I'd say this. I'm going to talk about my philosophy, and then I'll give you the advice I give to other parents. Our philosophy is our channels, like when we call it, we don't even really call it a family channel. We just describe it that way because that's how people know. But if you go to our family vlog channel, the name is It's Judy's Life. It started as Judy's behind the scenes channel, and it's continued to just document her life. So even as before she was a mom, just like a married woman, even before that, she was just, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. Okay. It was just her life. I was the one that made the channel name. I was like, this is just like an extension of what people know from your beauty channel. It's Judy time. And what we were very purposeful about is, even as we started having kids, even as we were some of the bigger names in the family vlog space, that the channel still was always about Judy. Because a lot of people, I think, straight up, men have these egos where they want to put their name on it. We didn't call it the Travis family. Again, very purposeful, because even though we are a family that vlogs our life, still it's from Judy's perspective. It's like her life. Why that relates to like what this person is doing, the kids were never the star of the show. Once in a while, they'd be in the thumbnail. Obviously, we're documenting, just like any parent, their upbringing and like the good memories, and we're sharing that, but they were never the attention. And part of that too is they were never the business model. So number one, Judy is a star. If you start a channel, even if it's a family vlog, I wouldn't name it the family channel, but remember, if you do, it still should revolve around the parents, because we can make decisions, right? And we might not change and evolve or whatever, and we're the ones deciding to be a creator. The kids are just like side characters. That sounds harsh, but what I'm trying to say is they're not the end-all, be-all of the channel. They're not the focus, and they're not like, our channel doesn't hinge on them. We actually have the receipts, because there's been spikes where, of course, when like a woman gives birth, it's one of the most beautiful parts of any human's like life, okay? Lots of views, but we didn't like hinge on, okay, let's build it on the kids and design. And you already know the type of channels that do this. Okay. Secondly, we make sure that if there is a business model, it's based off of me and Judy. Okay. So me and Judy do the brand deals. Now, don't get me wrong. We've done a Play-Doh deal, and it wasn't like we were playing with the Play-Doh, but as parents, we got to buy toys and Play-Doh. And so we did it, and the girls were in that, but still they weren't the sole like character in that. And even if we do these one-offs, it's just like 1 out of 100. Okay. Judy is the brand. Judy is the business, and that's how it's always been. And we have our each individual brands as well. This is just where we come together as a married couple, and we share a life not only as family but as parents, more than anything, never from their perspective. Third, as the kids got older, we more and more started asking them, hey, by the way, I don't want to just say, I didn't do this to protect myself or to defend myself or to like justify what I do. I do this because it's such a common question, okay? We always give the kids say, especially as they go older, do they want to even be in it? Even when they're really young. I personally think parents should be able to make the decision for the kids for anything in life, right? I'm more pro-parent versus pro-society saying you should do this and that. That's why I have no judgments. Even on this case, this kind of went like really bad, okay? This whole thing. They did not navigate it right. The kid went off. Because guess what? There's like cases where it went a good direction. But we give the kids a lot of a lot, like literally 100% say so. If they don't want to be in the content, we just don't use it. We don't put them in it. And we just, again, put the focus on us. Because of rule number 1, it's actually easy to do because it's not that big of a deal. The problem is when it hinges on them. The fourth thing I would say isn't really even a rule. It's just a perspective. I can say this because I've seen a kid go from like an infant now to like being a preteen or a teenager. Basically, that's how they act at my house. Their minds change. Their focus changes. Their passions change. Their interests change, right? Also, they're going into the world as much as possible, unless you're like one of those people that homeschool your kid, which I think some people might do it because they're insulating them from them. We wanted a kid to have as normal a life as possible, even though, by the way, they know they are privileged. They know that they get a lot and they're not normal in terms of like, as a kid, I went to Disneyland like 3 or 4 times. They've been to Disneyland year after year after year, and they're getting to travel the world and do all kinds of cool stuff. They understand that. But when it comes to their life, right, individual life, when they're going to school and whatever, we try to keep it as normal as possible. And it was because I've worked with kids. So my job before I became a YouTube content creator for many, many years was working at a YMCA. And I worked in the teen department. And I was also a teenager. Kids just change their mind. Yeah. Like they might want to do something for 10 years and then out of nowhere, I'm one of those kids. I used to be in the Boy Scouts, okay? In the Boy Scouts, when you get into it, you start as a Cub Scout or even before that, a Tiger Scout. That's like 4 and 5 years old. And the whole goal is to become a Weebelows, which is like another level after Cub Scouts. And then after Weebelows, you go into the big ones. And so there's a Star Scout, there's a Life Scout, and then there's an Eagle Scout.
When you get to Hullabaloo.
Is that a thing?
No.
Okay. Anyways, so keep up these terms. We're going to start using them. We're going to make shirts out of them. But everything is all about becoming an Eagle Scout. That is the top, okay? And I'm like, in my teenager years, and I've been a Scout basically my whole childhood. Life Scout is right before Eagle Scout. And guess what I do? At the time, I decide I want to join Taekwondo. Now, this was many years before. So I was juggling both of these and another sport, right? I played soccer in high school. No. So like doing a lot. And I was dancing. Oh, you didn't know that? I used to dance, okay? Like you used to win competitions at the, it's not a prestigious school by any means, but at the talent show at the school, okay? So as a kid, I was so close to finally getting to the point where I was going to become an Eagle Scout. And there was just a couple things I need to do. But you know what I told my dad? I was like, nah, I don't want to do it.
Really?
I want to be a black belt in Taekwondo. That's what I really want to do. I want to compete. And I did. I competed at state level and then national level. So that was like my entire interest. And it's so changed. I basically left like 10 plus years of work to not become an Eagle Scout. And guess what? I never did.
Wow.
I quit Boy Scouts and I went all in on Taekwondo. I didn't even play those other sports. I take that and my observations of kids and then even seeing my own kids like get into something and then like get out of it. And I've always known from the time my kids were born, I was like, guess what? That's how it's going to be on the creative side. So if you put them into a situation where they're forced to do it, it's so destructive. I knew that from the very beginning. So again, we embraced it when they wanted to be on camera and they wanted to do this video or whatever, and it's fun, but that's all it was. It didn't become a business and a brand and the business model, because I look at some of these kids that are the star of the show. I'm like, damn, I bet you even like I can see kids in their eyes and they're soulless, right? Like they're being forced to do it. But also I'm like, what if the kid changes their mind and you rely on that income? Game over in terms of being a good parent, right? By the way, I say good parent with quotation marks because what does that even mean? But my thing is this: a good parent does what's best for the kid and their whole life, not just what's best for the kid and especially what's best for your pocketbook, okay? I still don't have judgment on these parents, right? I'd be hypocritical to even like have judgment being a parent that has a family vlog channel that creates content with their kids. What I'm just saying, this is advice, okay? I rarely give parenting advice, but I think I'm probably one of the more like experienced parent content creators out there. We started like at the very beginning. And one thing I'm very proud of is our kids. If I were to ask them, do you feel like this has been a blessing versus being destructive? They would all say a blessing. And then secondly, probably more important, is like, do you believe if you didn't want to be in the video that you don't have to be? They would say 100%, right? You give us permission.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just come down and say like, hey, I just don't want to vlog. No arguments. We're like, hey, we need to do this, whatever. The only time is if we're going to do a family trip and do a family thumbnail, there's like, hey, we're going to take the picture, because we would take that anyways. Okay.
Yeah.
But look at some of our thumbnails. Okay. Just look at our thumbnails. And this happens inevitably with 5 kids, except not all vlogs are like this. Like other creators, other channels.
Yeah.
Some of our kids aren't smiling because they just don't. They're like, I want to get this over with. I'll move on. We don't force a smile.
Yeah.
See, we don't force a feeling or force them to be anything on camera except their true selves, which, by the way, is a secret of good vlogging. You shouldn't put on a face when it's fake. Don't get me wrong. Like we know that, well, not even know, we believe that we don't have to share everything, but we also want to be as genuine as possible. And we definitely want our kids to be genuine. So if a kid, sometimes like if a kid doesn't even want, like there's some pictures like on Instagram where the kid's like totally turned around. My kid's on the ground or whatever. And it's funny because some people look at it and think, oh, that's just funny. That's playful.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell you is that comes from our philosophy of not forcing the kid to be something for our branding, right?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, that is life or whatever. The mistake that is made, I believe, and I think this Jessalyn girl is an example of, is they forced the kid to be something because it was a business and it was a brand. And that's why I want to make this video or like comment on it, because a lot of parents ask me about it, both creators who think they're going to start a family vlog channel or like feature the kids, and even people that aren't even creators that I know in some cases just are judging me. I was like, oh, and I tell them exactly what I just told you, which I think is a pretty safe way to navigate. Now, ultimately, if you don't feel comfortable as the parent, just don't do it, right? It's not for everybody, okay? So I don't know if there's anything else I'm missing from that, but that was like my thought when I saw this. I didn't even watch the whole video. It's like, it hurts me to see this young kid. I think she's like 18 or 19.
Yeah, she's young.
Young,
She's young.
but,
Yeah, she's
but
in college.
She's an adult, right? She's not like a kid.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if this kid is making this video in their bedroom of her parents' house, like upstairs, I mean, that's wild.
Yeah.
That has gone completely out of control. So think to yourself as a parent, this is the last thing I'll say. I mean, I'm more than happy to ask you or answer any more question. Will your kid at 18 and 19 be proud of this legacy that you built around them, right? Or the legacy you built for yourself? This is funny because this goes beyond content creation. Would your kid be proud of the way you parented them? Yeah. That is like a really like deep question that I think any parent can relate to, regardless if you're a content creator thinking about starting a YouTube channel or not. And that's always the discussion that Judy and I have when it comes to our kids, even outside of YouTube and content creation.
Yeah, the 3 things that you said is that it should revolve around the parents. The channel should revolve around the parents. The business model, therefore, should revolve around the parents. That's number 2. And number 3, that especially as kids get older and they can understand, you're asking them for consent. And I guess the kind of principles that you kind of brought up are, number 1, a very strong principle of like YouTube in general, but especially of vlogging, which is authenticity. Are you authentic with the way that you present? And by the way, your family presents online, right? Number 2, are you being honest, right? Are you being honest with the people in your family? Are you being honest with yourself? And again, are you being honest with your audience, which is kind of like related to authenticity. Consent is another big piece of it. Like you said, you specifically ask for consent from your kids to see if they want to be in the videos.
Obviously not when they're a baby.
Not when they're a baby, but when they say no, you don't put them in there. And of course, you give them that agency to change their mind ultimately. The last thing is pride, that you say that you want to make sure that they're proud of the way that they were parented. And there's someone else who was proud really recently, which is the McDonald's CEO. Now, we talk about this a lot on the show, which is the idea of authenticity, right? But we also we just talked about that idea of pride. And generally with authenticity, one of the things that we think about a modern creator and generally the modern brand is that it has to be relatable. That actually we have a good friend, Dan Norton, who says he's in charge of the Deep Pocket Monsters channel storytelling on YouTube, which is like the biggest and fastest growing Pokemon YouTube channel on YouTube. And one of the things that he talks about when it comes to storytelling is that the most important characteristic of any character in a story is relatability. You have to be able to relate to the character in some way or another. And so brands have understood this, that they're telling this ongoing story, and so they have to be relatable too. And, you know, in general, one of the things you always talk about is that consumers are tired of all these really faceless, super polished, kind of corporate branded industry titans. And they're kind of more interested in messy, human first storytelling. And so McDonald's recently tried to do exactly that. And what they did is they released this massive new item, literally and metaphorically, called the Big Arch. And to promote it, their CEO, Chris, I think it's Kempczynski, decided to get in front of the camera himself and taste test the hamburger on camera and post it to Instagram. Benji, you said that you've seen the video, but I wanted to watch it with you again.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your pure, unfiltered reaction here as the CEO of a $200 billion food empire sits down to eat his own food, or as he calls it, his own product.
Chris K here with, you've heard about it, here it is, the Big Arch. This is something that we have tested already in Portugal, Germany, Canada. I love this product. It is so good. I'm going to do a tasting right now, but I'm going to eat this for my lunch, just so you know. So
okay, can we pause it there neutrally? I'm curious. You're already shaking your head. What's up with the head shaking?
Part of it is because I know what's about to happen, right? And just I haven't watched this thing in its entirety undistracted. It just showed up. I think I watched other people's commentary about it, right? This is the first time I'm just seeing it in its raw state. Yeah, the product. And I'm just thinking about, again, it's not just the fact that he called it a product. The only person that would say that is someone that you can't relate to. Like that's running a factory for food, right? And it's not food to them. It's literally just like something the machine pushes out.
Something to be sold.
And then, like I said, I'm like already like cringing thinking about
what's about to happen.
The bite he's about to take.
Here you go. First, holy cow. God, that is a big burger. We've got a very unique kind of sesame poppy sort of bun on it. We've got 2 quarter-pound patties, a delicious Big Arch sauce, and of course some lettuce. So, there's so much going on with this. First of all, let's try to get this thing. I don't even know how.
You know, this, when I'm really paying attention, he's doing all the things that somebody would do if they're trying to avoid something.
Oh,
he's just talking about it like, oh my God, right? And even just the way, because like if I'm not like a professional eater or anything like that, but like I know how to like enjoy something. I know like how I act when I just like, dang, this is gonna be like, oh my God, this is gonna be awesome. And I'm not even saying any of that stuff. In fact, maybe I'm like talking about those things after I make the bite, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like showing it. I'm like trying to get to the bite as soon as possible. To be fair, to give him a little bit of like another like perspective of it, he's trying to sell his burger. He just has never sold anything, and he's just like trying to say all these things as if it was delicious. And it just, to me, it's hilarious that this is such a fail. But let's finish.
So attack it. Got so much to it. Oh, there's also some crispy onions on here as well. I see those kind of coming out. All right, the moment of truth. That is so good. That's a big
neutrally.
wait, keep it going.
Bite
Does it go
for
much?
a Big Arch.
Well, that is
it's distinctively McDonald's. Only McDonald's could do this type of burger, but it also is unlike anything else on our menu. It's a delicious product. You know, you've got sort of the cheeses and the gooiness, but those crispy onions as well gives a nice texture. And of course, we've got the pickles. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of my lunch, but Big Arch, try it when you can get it. Chris K.
So fake. Because the thing is, he should have like set aside the small bite. Maybe he's just like unusual like that. He should have finished the whole dang thing, okay? And just went, ooh. And when did this video come out? Because you know who? Marco Pierre. Did you see this video? So I'm like, obviously I love food and I follow all the chefs. Marco Pierre on his Instagram, if you can find this, okay? I want to know, number one, when did that video come out? When was like the release of that video? And go to Marco Pierre. In fact, I can show it to you guys. He's like a famous legendary chef. He trained Gordon Ramsay. Okay. Marco Pierre. Is it? Here we go. Marco Pierre White. Okay. It's okay. Did he do this afterwards? So he did this video.
When was it posted?
Which one?
Marco Pierre White parody one.
But when was the McDonald's one posted?
I think it was about a week ago, just a little over a week ago.
So I bet you the CEO sold this video for Marco Pierre. Remember, and do you want to show the video? You want to show it? Okay, so if you guys show, I'm just letting it play, okay? This guy was the one that taught Gordon Ramsay, okay? Arguably one of the most famous chefs, good or bad or whatever, okay? But he's like a bougie, like maybe French chef, and he's straight up eating a McDonald's cheeseburger in its entirety from beginning to end. And why this video in the cooking world was kind of badass, because we all know, right? If you love food, that's the thing. I don't care if you're a freaking hippie or you're a tree hugger or you like all natural. I was all those things once. I still go to McDonald's with my kids and I eat that whole thing. So when he sat there and did not edit a video of him enjoying it, and he's putting extra ketchup on there, which again, like in the food world, it's like there's like this taboo about it, even though it's dumb. I love fries with my ketchup. Okay. No, I like to have ketchup with my fries. I forget which one. So I bet you the CEO watched that, because that video for him, Marco Pierre's version, let's see how many views it got. Got 2.9 million views. Okay. And so what's genuine about this is two things. It's so relatable.
When was that posted? I'm so sorry, because I have real-time follow-up.
Okay. Yeah. Here. What? So I don't even know. How do I see the date? February 1st. This one was uploaded February 1st.
Okay. The video by the CEO was posted on February 3rd. So literally 2 days after that.
The CEO saw this, I bet you, or somebody on his team is like, this famous chef ate a McDonald's burger. I mean, he doesn't even hide it. He even tags, he calls it McMarco, right? I don't know if this is an actual burger that they're serving. And he like has like a fancy glass bottle of ketchup. On the edit, we need to include all this because it's hilarious, right? And he's at one of his restaurants and he's eating a McDonald's burger. So number one, it's very relatable because I love to cook. I just made like something actually was pretty delicious. You just had it, right? It's pretty. Judy was like, great. This is mind blowing. I'll like buy American Wagyu steaks. I'm going to this weekend. Surprise, surprise. That's what so if you want to come over, you can. Okay. And I go out of my way to get the highest quality ingredients. I have no qualms going to McDonald's and eating a cheeseburger. So the second reason why this video works, the Marco Pierre version compared to the CEO, unedited. It's there in its entirety. And what was funny about it, I remember watching, and this is kind of a long video. I think this video is like maximum amount of time. He finishes the whole thing. So it's one thing to like take a bite and just do it for like shits and giggles, or kind of like do it because you're like being, like, what do you call it? Edgy or whatever. But he eats the whole thing and then he crumples it up and whatever. And that was the end of the burger. I think he did a couple more afterwards, like of other things. Cause I don't know where the inspiration came from. If he actually did the McMarco, if that's something in the country he's from. Okay. The CEO thing, it was a big fail unless it wasn't. Because if it was planned, my gosh, that burger has more views than any other burger McDonald's has put out in recent history. And I highly doubt it is. But man, I think they actually rolled with it. And so, it's a good lesson of, okay, number one, don't be cringe. Don't try to go out of your way to try to create the viral hit like that, because it's not a good look for him, okay? McDonald's already doesn't have the best reputation. I've worked with McDonald's, so I'm saying this with love, okay? But it's not like you're going there because it's like the bastion of health or anything, okay? It is what it is. It's a fast food delight that kids love, and guess what? Secretly, parents love it too, okay? I just went a week ago. So, like the the fact that it got so much attention, isn't that a win in itself?
Yeah, it is.
And this was funny. Other CEOs were like, hey, I can do the real deal. And now that they saw what doesn't work, they're like, I'm going to go the opposite. Doesn't take a genius or a PR firm to tell you what to do on your video, but further makes the McDonald's one more thing. Now everyone's going to go try it out of curiosity. Now, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's going to go behind. McDonald's is not going to hurt, okay? People, it's like still the king. They're the king. Okay, the Golden Arches, forever the greatest of all time when it comes to fast food. So that's just my final thoughts, and mutually agrees.
You know, I think the thing that my counter is exactly what you said, which is that I actually think it was massively successful. And I think that there was like a deep level of authenticity there. Like, it's clear that he was not coached through PR talking points beforehand. And if he was, the sort of authenticity.
Do you really need to be
through,
coached on how to eat a burger or enjoy McDonald's?
Apparently some do. But, you know, one of the amazing things, I agree with you. I think if I was going to do one thing for him, I would make it one video and make it one long unedited
like
thing.
this Marco Pierre one.
Like the Marco Pierre one. And that's one of the reasons why this week we're sponsored by Ecamm Live, because we love live streaming because of the lack of edit, the authenticity that shines through.
I love that transition. That's slick.
And, you know, we love Ecamm Live because it's a powerful live streaming platform for Mac that Benji uses to live stream all of his cooking shows where he's taking big bites out of food. Now, one of the things that you sent me the other day, Benji, was this message, which says, new record, 1 minute, 42 seconds to send Neutrally team viewer code from beginning setup. Now, what does that mean? Well, first of all, Neutrally is piloting all of your live streams 100% remotely, right? And he's doing that with the power of Ecamm. He's running your things with Ecamm. Now, why 1 minute and 42 seconds? Well, in the past, I've only heard the war stories from Neutrally, but he said that he's had to take down these gigantic auto polls that are in front of us with your giant Sony A7Ss that are attached to them, with all of the monitors and the lighting and all of the gear. He had to bring over, what was it, like an A10 Pro or something like that, plug it into his computer and things like that. It would take how long?
1 hour to 2 hours at least.
So we're talking, you know, orders of magnitude less time to get set up and ready to go. And by the way, Neutrally doesn't even have to be here to do it. He was able to do it remotely. Now, I want to show another image, which is the setup that you're using, because how is it possible to go from all of this gear to something like this? Well, the answer is that Ecamm allows us to run all of your live streams with a very simple setup. Now, there's a few cords here and there, and we've built this out over time. You could even have a simpler setup than this, but let's just walk through your setup. Benji, tell me everything that you use to do a live stream on an average day in the studio.
It's so
Actually,
funny.
not even in the studio, in your own kitchen.
Normally, I'd have Neutrally do it because I have no idea what I'm using, but I actually do know everything that I'm using in this picture. And I took this picture because I was so proud. Like, hey, look what I did by myself without you, Neutrally. There's 2 DJI Osmos right there. Okay. Now you're gonna make me do it by memory. Come on, I want to see the image. Okay, there. Oh, you're gonna cover me, Matt. Great. Okay.
We're gonna make an overlay real quick.
So there's 2 DJI Osmos, which are on their own tripods. One's like the DJI Osmo tripod. The other one is like a taller one because I want to get a different angle. More about that later. I've got one MacBook Pro with the M5 chip.
That's right.
Okay. Which is a beast, by the way. That's probably part of what makes this all work, because live streaming takes up a lot of bandwidth. And then I also have, silly that I'm saying, 2 USB-C cords, okay?
Yeah.
I have a dongle that I don't even need anymore because I use a third USB-C cord. I have the power for the laptop. And then the box that you see, that is the DJI mics that now, by the way, if you're going to do this, I would suggest using the receiver. But all of that is right there. Before, that would have just been the mess that I'd tell Neutrally to clean off before I even get started, because it's such a mess, but now it's all there. And that's just like not even a 10th of what our setup was before. That's like maybe 1/20th of our setup. And I would say you could get all that really for like probably like $2,500, right? I think maybe $3,000. Still a lot of money, okay? But you don't even need all that setup to use Ecamm. That's the one thing that you don't see on there, because other platforms and softwares we use required even more gear, okay? I'm going to say some of the stuff. What is it called? The Ninja Warrior screen or whatever it's called?
The Ninja Atomos.
Okay, I'm going to butcher all these. We had a huge machine. You should bring
That's
one of the machines.
Roland VR4 HD.
Bring it over here if you can. If it's too far again, but it's like big, okay? And it's like it's horrible. But
If we went through and listed all the things that were on the thing before, it would literally take, I mean, usually these shows that we do are about 2 hours.
Yeah.
It would take the rest of the 2 hours right here.
Yeah, for me to explain it, you could do it probably like 20 minutes. But yeah, it's just so much more. Okay, and then what's not in here? Okay, there's one of the things that we used to use.
Just
okay?
one thing.
Like, what the heck is this? Now, I'm not against using this, but like the average person doesn't know what is this. Like, how do you even use this? And I still think this is called the Black Magic, the Ecamm, which is actually a pretty powerful tool. Which is still valuable. I wonder, could you
And
use
by the
this
way,
with Ecamm?
still can be used with Ecamm.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Which is awesome. The point is this. I thought this was the only way we could do what we're doing. Now we're just doing it with my laptop, okay? And so we used to have like sometimes 2 laptops. It was just a whole mess. And it's so much easier now. And for me personally, can I give like a personal testimony?
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
It's not just that I love live streaming because it's easier and the setup has been faster for us. It's the fact that I think it's necessary. I'm learning this from in real life streamers, right? I know this guy named John Cortese. There's another one called Maven. These are 2 of like some of the bigger influencers that's doing in real life in Seattle, among other people. But this younger crowd is doing this. And it's always been the case. I used to be that younger crowd, right? Really, it was Judy back in 2008. They usually define what the next decade is going to be. So when I see them doing it, I'm thinking, this is going to become bigger than what they even know. When Judy first started, it was very much webcam kind of feel for her beauty videos.
Yeah.
Now it's almost laughable to use a webcam, though some webcams are pretty good, okay? Because they upgraded the cameras and they started using DSLRs and doing all that. And this was like the actual progression. It was different than the very beginning. And I'm telling you, live streaming is going to be different. It's going to be bigger. And the opportunity is only going to grow as AI becomes more significant and competes against you. So it's funny. This is like of course, a shout out to the sponsor of the show, but it's actually a very valuable lesson of the need to change what you're doing if you don't want to compete against the impossible competitor, which is AI and even all the creators in the short form world. Live streaming is the easiest way to create long streams, okay? And the one thing I'm going to show you guys is this thing called AVD, average view duration. So I don't know about this one that I just did today, but I'm going to show you the one I did the other day, literally like 2 days ago, okay, evening stream. And if I go to my analytics, I don't know if I told you guys this today, right? No. But look at this here. Can you do a super zoom usually? Super zoom, okay? Super, okay? You can kind of barely tell, but that's 1454. The average view duration of my live stream that's hit like 4,000 views. Not crazy, right? Like, you know, like I'm not going to make a living just from doing that live stream, but it's 15 minutes.
That's the amount of time the average person spends with you, not just anybody.
That was an hour-long live stream, so that means the average. So there was a lot of people that probably went way farther than that. Some people maybe only like a minute or 5 minutes, but the average of thousands of people is 15 minutes. When's the last time you watched a 15-minute TikTok? Never.
Yeah.
Never.
If there
By the way, I mean, you saw this recently too. The average amount of time somebody has watching on something like TikTok, what is it, 5 seconds?
It's
Maybe?
almost embarrassing for the platform, not for the creators. Creators like put their heart and soul into it. Remember, it's average too again. So like there are people that maybe watch the whole thing, let it all play out, okay? But the average is like 5 to 10 seconds, and I give I'm generous, and I think some of the best ones maybe 15 seconds, okay? But I did a live stream that literally got 15 minutes. Now, as you get more and more views and it expands to other audiences, that AVD goes down, but it never goes down to something super crazy low like that.
Yeah.
It still stays up in the 10, 11, 12 minutes, okay? That is powerful. That is that connection that relates back to that one, what is it called? That company that has a paywall?
Ratings.com.
The ratings.com, and they put all their stuff behind a paywall, but they still go on YouTube. That connection, that long form relationship that you get that builds a trust that is just difficult to do with short form. And that's why for me, I wouldn't be surprised if I'll still vlog, and my wife and I vlog same amount, but I'm starting to integrate my vlog style, which funny enough, that's in real life, right? into my live streams.
Yeah.
For me, I'm doing it like with a cooking show. And so the irony of all of it is today, even somebody said, Benji, you should be on the Food Network. And I used to say, YouTube allowed me to not be on the Food Network and still get the same thing, right? I get paid to eat. Now, funny enough, I actually think I do something that's even cooler than what they do on the Food Network. Because the one thing about the Food Network that I think is really cringe, it's all produced. It's all edited. And I honestly think a lot of it is very fake. Because when you even meet these people or you see the chefs on the Food Network in person, they're totally different. Not always in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, they don't need to edit any of that. They just need to just go and cook and make it like live stream. Different value proposition, different like platforms. Obviously, it's TV and there's ads and all that. And they're trying to make this like power packed show when it's just funny. Marco Pierre on Instagram, 3 minutes of him eating a McDonald's cheeseburger gets almost 3 million views. That is the point, everybody, of everything we're talking about, including why Ecamm is so significant and live streaming is here, why like vlogging came back after many years of kind of dying or whatever. People just want real. They want to relate to somebody, and they're looking for the type of content that they can relax to. And that's why, again, like, we're in a whole new phase, and this is a huge opportunity for people. Live streaming is just a huge part of it.
Yeah, I mean, we showed you the setup, and it wasn't really about the setup. It was there just to illustrate the fact that the setup gets out of your way. It's more about what the setup enables you to do. I mean, we didn't even get to talk about the fact that Neutrally uses your 2 DJI Osmo gimbals to create the effect of 7 angles while being remote, when only having 2 small things in your kitchen that have the footprint of, 2 water bottles? And if you're interested, we want you to see how it works for yourself. And you can do that by starting a free trial at the link in the show notes and using code BenjiTV15 for 15% off your first month. Again, if you want to try this out, go to the link in the show notes, start the trial, and use the code BenjiTV15 for 15% off your first month. Thank you so much to Ecamm Live for sponsoring our show. I've got one more topic for today, and it's another thing about this corporate America creator weird behemoth that things are going along with. And, yesterday we got this message from friend of the show, Anton Stetner, about something going on with Dick's Sporting Goods, which perked my ears up for a couple of reasons. First, there was this weird thing that happened last week. I actually don't know if you know this, Benji, but there's this thing last week where 3 out of 4 of the top free apps on the App Store were AI. Okay, big whoop, right?
Yeah.
What was the 4th one? It was Dick's Sporting Goods. I don't know how that was. I don't know why that was. It actually turns out that it wasn't related to this creator thing, but I was like, oh, this is a weird thing going on with Dick's.
It's got to be related to it.
It actually wasn't, but it speaks to something underlying, which is that Dick's is always doing unique and weird things when it comes to marketing. In fact, that's the second reason to perk my ears up, because last time, I don't know if you remember this, we talked about Dick's Sporting Goods on this show a few months ago. And we talked about it because they were doing really interesting things when it comes to marketing, including the fact that they have this officially launched in-house documentary studio that's trying to win a bunch of Emmys and Grammys and all of those things like that. Anyway, there was a massive headline this week about Dick's Sporting Goods, which is that they are doubling down on their in-house creator program called the Varsity Team. Now, I want to share some numbers with you, and I want to hear what your reactions are, but because I think it paints a bigger picture that you call the blob. So here are the numbers. Last year, there were 5,300 applicants to this program. They've been running it for a few years. 5,300. That's a pretty big amount. And by the way, they only accept 40, 50 creators. This year, they were accepting 60 creators. And you know how many creators applied?
Oh, like thousands?
10,800 for 60 spots. So who are these people that are applying? They're, I think some of them are store employees actually, but there's like student athletes, micro influencers, some with followers below 1,000. There's, people who are like soccer moms and all of these things like that. It's just like a bunch of normal people. And so, what do they get? Well, they get paid really small contracts with some gift cards, like trips to different locations, boxes with trending things like this. And as an example of what Dick's gets in return is they get 50 creators pumping out 2,500 pieces of content that get over 40 million organic views.
How they know that metric if it hasn't happened yet?
No, I'm saying that they've been running this program for several years now. This is with the smaller program. And by the way, it only increased, I think, by 10 people, from 50 to 60 people, about the number of creators that they've been doing it with. But it literally went from 5,000 people applying to 10,000 people applying the next time.
Yikes.
So it's highly lucrative. Again, 50 creators, 2,500 pieces of content, 40 million organic
Probably
views.
pickleball. I bet you pickleball was behind the whole trend.
I'm curious about what your reaction is to those numbers when you first hear them.
Oh man, sad to say, you guys. Why Dick's Sporting Goods is smart about making it public and maybe announcing it and making it a thing is because there's so many creators so desperate to make it. The idea that they get a gift card and free stuff and pay is just nice, right? They just want to do it. And what's crazy is there's big creators that are might apply for it. Pickleball, that's not just a joke because they may be like, hey, I wouldn't mind getting some free pickleball stuff. You know, I got to pay for it anyways, right? Like, you know, a dollar saved is a dollar earned, so they might do it. So, and then it becomes a thing, right? Like, oh, I'm part of the Dick's Sporting Good thing, but who gets the most value? Dick's Sporting Good, like the most amount of ROI. Crazy amount of free marketing in a way, right? I mean, they are paying and they are like giving some kind of value, but nearly not the amount of effort that these creators
They have a huge amount of leverage in this scenario, is what you're saying.
Do they really though? They're just smart about it.
Well,
they
yeah,
definitely
I think that's
do.
leverage. Yeah,
yeah, they do. But
Yeah.
I think why should they have so much leverage? Because I'm always the advocate for the creator to get paid for the content they make for a brand. You know.
Well, let me explain a little bit about how they might get some leverage, which is that, okay, you look at this 10,800 applications, right? And you realize that, like you're saying, brands have kind of figured this out, right?
Yeah.
They don't need to necessarily pay premium rates. There's an endless supply of small creators willing to work for really small stipends and potentially like free shoes, I guess, or maybe your free pickleball paddles. But if one creator of those creators that they select, again, there's only 60 of them, if they ask for more money, there are 10,799 other creators that are waiting right behind them in line. And I think that perfectly illustrates what you call the blob. And so I want to hear you explain the blob to creators who are thinking about these types of things and how you can avoid being a part of that 10,799 and be the one that asks for more money.
By the way, Cooper Kupp, who is a player on the Seahawks, is working with Dick's Sporting Good. I bet you he makes more money from this than other creators, okay? All right. It's always been the case that a small percentage of creators get paid the biggest amounts of money for the brand deals and get all the opportunities compared to the most of the creator economy. A lot of that is because of influence. They have the most subscribers, the most followers. They get the most views. They have like the best content. Maybe their branding is on point. There's just something special about them, okay? And the rest have different kind of levels to them, right? Of course, a beginner that has 0 subscribers putting out content, they almost never will get paid, or it's going to be very minimal. Then they've got micro influencers, and they get paid a little bit more. They know this is a business, and then it just goes so on to like this really elite level of, they call it the 1% of the 1% when it comes to creators. At YouTube, they had a name for it: premium creators.
Interesting.
So that's where I kind of like understood this dichotomy of like, wow, these people, without any like obvious reason, get paid more for their brand deals versus basically everybody else, right? But then again, there was like different levels. Fast forward to 2026, I call it the blob and then the best of the best. And I don't say this pretentiously at all, or like that if you're part of the blob, you're not potential. But AI is part of it, okay? Sorry to burst your bubble. This is like, we have to talk about it. Short form, TikTokification is part of it. And just the amount of competition. Everybody wants to be a creator, okay? So what the blob is everybody competing against each other. Every single person is literally like trying to fight for these scraps. And the blob, there's actually not as many levels, okay? There's not like a spectrum. Even if you have more influence, you're competing against the beginner.
Yeah.
Let me explain. They called this the TikTokification of content. The reason that brands aren't paying all short form creators, many of them, like top dollar, and they're going to pay this person with almost no influence, right? Is because the game isn't the same as long form content or what it used to be. We call it the heyday of YouTube, okay? Because what they're doing is short form already, if you do a sponsored deal, it's a commercial. You only have 60 seconds. That's like old school short form because I know it's longer, right? You only have 60 seconds. So that used to be an integration into a longer piece of content. So then what happens is you do a volume play and you don't really care as much about like the conversion because it's part of a bigger plan, like a marketing plan. So you take that person with 0 subscribers, but they create great content, right? Maybe like they're bound for bigger, better things, gaining followers. But right now you take their content and number one, you might be banking on it to go viral potential, right? Or like get views out of 100 that you're sponsoring. But even more so, you run ads on it, okay? So it put everybody on the same playing field. Great for the beginner, bad for the seasoned creator that thought they had influence that deserves more money. Then you got UGC, okay? I rarely talk about this. User-generated content. If you see UGC, I don't even really understand fully what it is. To me, it's just people working for free. Now, are they doing affiliate deals? Are they trying to get their foot in the door? It's really just like the hustle of becoming an influencer, except now there's a title for it, right? There's a label for it. And it's just people creating content for brands, user-generated content, which, by the way, is the whole business model for these platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, okay? But it's a whole world. Like people know I can go into that and potentially make money because you're creating content and you might be sponsored with no influence by the brands. And then the other layer, right? Just everybody creating content. If you don't create content on short form, you really don't exist in people's attention and people's thoughts and memories, okay? I do believe you can still exist without being on social media or uploading to YouTube. It's just less likely people are going to have you at the frontal cortex of your brain, okay? And then on top of that is AI. It's just this battle, this endless battle of competition. When TikTok came in the game and YouTube did shorts, a lot of people thought, oh, this is great, until they realized, the feed now has a whole nother thing that's competing against my videos that used to compete against so many YouTube videos. Now it's competing against endless amounts of shorts. And now worse, I'm saying this in a negative way. I think shorts overall is a good thing for YouTube, but there's a whole nother tab that you can accidentally press. Or like you forgot that you went to it and then you're on it, right? And you don't go to your subscription tab. You don't go to the home feed and it's 100%. So all this is coming into play. And the AI part is a big one, right? Because AI slop, it's just competing against everybody. And the blob is just the way I kind of perceive it. And the rules are totally different. And I say this in relation to brand deals because I see creators that could be charging, at least in back in the heyday, $10,000, and now they're like regulated to $100 or $500. And they're like, why am I doing this? Now, they have to take ownership because they accepted it. No one's like putting a gun to their head and forcing them. They're agreeing to it. They're signing the contracts. They're doing it. But why is a creator doing that? It's because there's just so much more competition. What a lot of them actually kind of know or hear or like observe is there's a really small best of the best circle, right? That's a whole nother maybe podcast where we talk about how do you become that? Because they are still charging the old school rates or charging a lot more. But it's not as simple as that, right? The easiest way to put it, they're not part of the blob for many different reasons, okay? And once you get into the blob, it's like hard to get out of it. And again, there's like strategies to not ever go into it. But that blob is smaller than that premium creator, that 1%. And so they get most. And how is it logical that I just went through this whole rant that somebody with influence might be charging $100 to $500, but then there's people over here that's charging like 10 grand, 25 grand, 6-figure deals, 7-figure deals, or whatever. What are they doing? Okay. And the rules to be in that are different as well. And the way I kind of put it is, it's funny, part of it, it's not, short form's in there. There's some short form creators in there. They're just like a small little like group. But live streamers, big deals, right? People that do long form, they're getting great opportunities. And the blob, what's scary about it is you don't even know you exist in it. You just think this is the world that I have to navigate. And you don't even have like an inclination to escape out of it or know how to, even if you do, and you just stuck. And that's what's sad about it. Short form was the beginning of it. UGC, competition, people just uploading content in general. And then now you got AI. So it's just getting bigger and bigger. It's like eating up more of the world, right? It's like, I don't know, it's like a tumor on Earth that's just like, whatever it touches, I'm going to suck it in and it's going to be part of this one big blob. That's why I call it the blob. I'm not mean to offensive. No other thing. Nobody wants a blob in their life. I don't want to be in the blob either. And so that's really the quest as a creator. How do you always separate yourself from that? Because even if you thought somebody else wasn't your competition because they're in a different niche, different type of format, or even on a different platform, it's all the same thing. And in relation to brand deals, it's like a huge challenge.
Yeah, and I think that a big part of it is that, this idea of the massive oversupply of creators that this kind of Dix program represents is that, a lot of it tends to be kind of in that short form realm because it's so easy to create. Now, that's not to say every creator who's making short form content is a part of the blob. That's definitely not true. We know creators who are not that way. But it's also true that, if you're going the direction that other people aren't, you're more likely to be able to separate yourself out from the other people who are, as long as strategically sound, all doing the same thing. So here are the takeaways. This is a wake-up call. You have to choose to step out of that oversupply and go premium, or you can stay in the blob competing with 10,000 other people for free sneakers. Now, one person who I know never doing that was Steve Jobs. And there was this interesting thing. I don't know if you know about the Steve Jobs archive, but over the last couple of years, there's a foundation that basically is dedicated to kind of telling Steve Jobs' story through, his and his family's archival information. And it's kind of all controlled by, I think, probably a trust of some kind that's in his name. But one of the really interesting things that they did was they've started to make these little programs that they do. So they have like a little cohort that goes and they do sort of creative things that are, are given grants and then present them and things like this. They tell stories and write little books about how, Steve Jobs was one of the first, one of the people who was a part of the mix of people bringing computers to the average person and things like that. But my favorite thing that they've done recently, and it stuck out to me because they just recently announced it and they used the word creator in it, is something called Letters to a Young Creator. And I want to make this a little segment of the show over the next few weeks. And the idea of it is that it's people out there making great work, writing letters to people who ask questions, who are literally creating things right now of all kinds of things like products, videos, short form content, long form content, everything. Any type of person who's creating something, and they write letters to them. And the first one I want to read is from a filmmaker. They're not all filmmakers. There's lots of scientists and electricians and things like that. But this is a filmmaker named John Chu. He is the guy who just directed Wicked. He's done Crazy Rich Asians. So he's a big guy in Hollywood. And here's what he says. To a young creator, don't be me. I procrastinate way too much. This letter has been asked of me for weeks. I wanted to find the perfect thing to say, especially if it was going to be sent to the people who are inspired by my hometown hero, Mr. Steve Jobs. But honestly, I've been frozen without any great answer. I keep waiting for inspiration to strike, and now they're going to print. So I probably missed this opportunity to write. Nevertheless, here I am, a few weeks before the biggest project of my life, Wicked for Good, comes out to the world, and I think I just want to warn you, don't be me. I'm still working on me. Oftentimes, I get frustrated that I'm afraid to call people back, or that my memory is so bad that I barely remember the plots of movies hours after I've seen them. I hate that sometimes I feel like I need to please people with my movies, and that I'm always searching for what other people want instead of doing whatever I want. I can't believe I've actually picked up some of my parents' passive-aggressive language, or that I have those feelings towards my parents, because I love them, and they have given me everything. And I feel guilty to have any complaints about my upbringing, but I do. And it's a part of how I work. I wish I was more like Mr. Jobs. I wish I had the clarity he had. I wish he had the relentless drive that he had to make something insanely great without compromise. But I sort of like to compromise. I find the compromise a test to see if if I can be a bridge to get both what I want and what they want. Maybe that is what makes me weak. Man, I wish I wasn't called nice. As an artist, I want to be complicated or subversive, but sometimes I just want to sit and play with my kids and watch cartoons or dance around the house like a robot. Definitely don't be me. Just be you. You'll be the best version of that. And it might just work. Maybe. Who knows? They just emailed me that I've missed the deadline, so you probably won't even read this anyway. John M. Chu. Any thoughts to close the show?
It's true. I mean, it's funny. We talk about the blob, right? Versus being the best of the best. One of the distinctions of most of those people, I believe, right now, at least from an audience perspective, is they're relatable, they're genuine, and you kind of feel like you know who they are. My wife being one of them, because she got 5,000 videos that are 10 to 15 minutes long, all out there showcasing who she really is. You see the receipts over time, and the only way to be able to do that and never get burnt out is to be you and not to be fake. If you want to set yourself apart in a competitive niche, just do what's true to you, just like this guy said. I mean, it's just interesting hearing his rant, especially like going back to his parents and like, you know, like judgments about how he was raised or whatever. Like everyone kind of feels that way, you know? Everybody has something shitty that's happened, or they've been through a crappy situation, or it wasn't perfect. How do you navigate that out? I mean, everyone has their own way to do it. Don't feel like you have to do it the other person's way, even if it goes against the grain, against the rules, or it's like not orthodox. That's like the ultimate creative rule, which like you can argue there should be no rules. And this is why like we talk about pirates, we talk about rock stars, we talk about, I mean, even like a cowboy, you do it your way, and that's what's cool. And in art, what's cool is what people want. And it's not what you think is cool. It's just like what you are that people think is cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's what you are.
Exactly. So I agree. And the more you can be yourself. And also, not everyone's going to agree at first until you're such a superstar. Like, oh, how'd you do it? And then you're like, I was just myself. And as cheesy as that is, it's the truth.
Great thanks to our sponsor, Ecamm Live, the powerful live streaming platform for Mac. You can learn more about Ecamm Live at the link in the show notes, and you can get 15% off and support the show. Again, you can support the show with our code BenjiTV15. As always, thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.